The Rake is a cryptid, feared for the emotional impact it has on its victims. From the cases I have read, the Rake is related to the crawler and the fleshgate. All are pale humanoids whose primary method of locomotion is crawling. While the crawler and fleshgate seeking flesh to consume, the Rake does not appear to, feeding off of the negative emotions it can force from others, which is the main theory of its diet. The various autopsy reports indicate otherwise. Case file: Rake/civilian, number 08364. In the western United States, near 3 designated skinwalker territories and 7 suspected Bigfoot domains, a Rake cryptid maneuvered its way to a small commune. This was a commune of 4 adults and 5 children. The point of this commune was the return of nature ideology. No cell phones except for an emergency satellite phone. Due to this, most of the information is from the victims themselves. Journals and scribbled notes. That and the words the satellite phone was able to record. The commune was self-sufficient. The runners, as the people in charge dubbed themselves as they were running the commune, were not the first people to notice the presence of this Rake. Like a horror movie cliche, it was the youngest, a 4-year-old male. His journal had the word Rake randomly dispersed in the writing for 2 weeks. The more alarming journal post was when the boy mentioned his scary friend the Rake wanted to be let in. So, the boy let his scary friend in. This could have been dismissed as fake, but the eldest daughter wrote an evil thing was sitting on the end of her bed, watching her with hollow eyes. Every so often, it would breathe. After what felt like an hour, it left, and one word appeared in her mind: Rake. This repeated for 4 days, but with each successful night, the Rake would pour nihilistic thoughts into the eldest daughters. Depression was swift. Journal entries from the parents noted that their eldest daughter was withdrawn and would only mention one thing: the Rake is here for us all. The youngest would exclaim that the Rake was a friend, but when pressed into revealing his friend, the boy would mumble that it was shy. The eldest son, believing his younger sibling, decided to hunt for the Rake. The uncle of the commune accompanied the eldest son. Their bodies wouldn't be recovered until the second investigation. Subsequent journal entries indicated that the voices of the two would-be hunters could be heard, but the youngest would block the door and say that his scary friend was teasing the commune. When pressed for details, the youngest boy described his scary friend and how he would make him and his eldest sister think thoughts of death. The rest of the commune tried to convince the boy, except for the remaining sibling. She would show the sketches she had been drawing for months. Sketches of a pale individual with very long black claws, voids for eyes, gazing directly at the viewer with the intensity that should be impossible. The last journal entries of the commune, except for the youngest, expressed private concerns as they all had these feelings of nihilism and the inevitability of the Rake. The youngest boy's last written words were, "I'm sorry." Autopsy 1. Eldest boy. Slashing marks to the calf muscles, cleaving the muscle in two. Presence of adrenaline in system indicates that he was in a state of fight or flight. Femoral artery was pierced cleanly. Death was slow due to small puncture wounds on the femoral artery. Autopsy 2. Uncle. Deep lacerations to the chest. Wounds to the arms indicate defensive wounds. Autopsy 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. mother, father, middle child, boy, youngest son, eldest daughter, aunt, all found dead, sitting at the dinner table. Post-mortem evidence indicates that these bodies were moved after death. Every person sitting at that table showed no outward signs of death. However, when the brain was examined, multiple scars were found throughout the brain. All the scars were arced as if in repeating bite marks. Missing child, youngest daughter. Evidence strongly implicates that the daughter is the one that moved all the bodies of the family to the inside of the commune dining area. Her fingerprints match 6 pictures placed in front of the appropriative victim on the table. Footsteps of the youngest lead out to the commune and disappear alongside the tracks of the rake. Rake information. The rake is an entity that feeds the induced nihilistic thoughts. People who are naturally nihilistic are immune to the enhancing effects that the rake naturally emits. This is thought to be an extension of the crawler's fear aura. The rake is a humanoid creature that moves on all fours like an animal. Long claws are seen from the forelegs. However, the evidence indicates that the length is a gauge. While the rake does have claws, as evidenced by the hundreds of bodies it's attacked, the length is quite short, but the length is likely to allow the rake to deduce how much nihilism or basic fear that the would-be victim produces. Due to the inherent nature of the rake, firearms have an indeterminable effect, as people are either too scared or nihilistic to make any attempts. The rake, due to its feeding capabilities, will, when it finds its suitable host, torment the victim with night visits and the aforementioned aura of nihilism. There is a theory that the youngest daughter was taken not for food but to make another rake. While this is a wholly speculation, it is the best theory that is agreed upon by the majority of these morticians. As you can imagine, there were a lot of cases I had to sort through. After reading about the nihilism aura that this rake appears to project, I must admit I do ponder what would happen if I encountered this cryptid, or its variations. Also, finding out if these things can be killed would be some very helpful knowledge. I do apologize for my lateness of this case, but there were interruptions that required great attentions, more than normal. Werewolves, or the more encompassing term was therianthropes. Unlike the deplorable representation in the crime against literature referred to as the Twilight Saga, or as I refer to it, why I am glad I have no emotional connection to people. From the vocal interjections, Teen Wolf would be a far greater viewpoint. Apparently, therianthropes are more like guardians than monsters. Some therianthropes can have their minds twisted by their capabilities. Therianthropy refers to the ability to turn into an animal through unknown means. Werewolves are the more acknowledged example of this, but apparently any strong enough connection to a spirit animal and training that differs from person to person, you can actually gain the ability to shapeshift. This shift is to a hybrid form of human and animal, but very rare therianthropes can shift completely into full animal form. Though these are more rare cases than the honest used car salesman. Before I continue, I will point out that the morticians that granted me permission have asked if I only archive certain cases involving therianthropes and any victims, but they would rather this be more educational than threatening. I was able to point out that an example of a therianthrope who went blood mad, as they termed it, would be useful. They were not happy, but after several hours of a heated discussion, they relented, grudgingly, but only if I went into great detail about therianthropy and the difference between those and cryptids like skinwalkers. Like previously mentioned, therianthropy, or shifting, is different to the few forms that other cryptids are able to replicate. The closest example is the skinwalker. However, due to the secrecy of the Native American shamanistic rituals, we're unable to really explain the ritual, and given the levels of the stupidity and curiosity people can demonstrate, Tide Pods, I wouldn't post that information anywhere, even if I had possessed it. For therianthropy, the training stages all allow the shifter to adapt to things like the skin of their animals, the muscle, and the speed. But the most tricky aspect is the mentality. Physical changes can be eased into allowing greater control, but the mental changes are the part where shifters can turn feral if human minds don't gain the dominance. One of these cases will be used as an example. However, those who do make the shift successfully, they like to use their power to hunt the more dangerous cryptids and play guard duty for the bigger dangers. Though while these Therians were effective in cryptid combat, they couldn't fight them all. The Rake has an especially destabilizing effect on therianthropes. The skinwalkers trigger a truly heightened fight or flight response. The fight would be to the death, typically the Therian. The common Therian forms are wolf, horse, boar, and bear. There are others, but I am asked to mention them only in relevant case files. The case file that I have chosen and had to defend my choice for is one involving the last true werewolf. I have been asked to omit any dates, as there are still hunters out there who are crawling sites like this looking for clues to the Therian threat. They're obsessed with killing Therians. Case file: Werewolf/Therian, number 001. Final. Journals and maps indicate the location of where this last true werewolf was eventually killed. The language is not English, but something I was able to translate. Again, the language is not something I am allowed to disclose. It went something like this. We've been hunting him for the past 6 weeks. His aggressive nature is causing his trail to be easy, but we are patient. We know he is the last. The Inquisition, the Shadow One, has killed many werewolves and eliminated most of the more insidious vampires. But this lichen has proved to be a cunning predator, almost apex. He has avoided the small hamlets in the area. He must be hungry. This makes him even more of a dangerous threat. A predator that is hunted, hungry, and desperate. I do not expect any of us to live through this hunt, but his death is required. Therian 2 has informed us that we have found a lair. Tracks in recent kills indicate that it could be the lichens. We spread out and attune our senses to sharpen. There are 5 other Therians, including myself. Therian 4 is a bear shifter. She is looking at the mouth of the lair with an odd expression. Human, the Therian whispered. All our eyes snap at each other. This changes things. A hostage or a snack. Unless we move, this human is dead. As the hunt leader, I walk into the clearing. I'm a wolf shifter. There are 2 boar shifters, the bear shifter and the horse shifter. The others follow me into the small clearing. The boars were twins. They nod at me. We know our roles. The boars were to play bait. The horse shifter was a trained healer. The bear shifter is a main powerhouse. As a wolf, I have an inherent understanding of team leadership. I howl, reaching the primal aspect, issuing a challenge. The others scatter to their positions. I stand in front of the lair mouth. A growl that seemed to shake the entire forest ripples from the lair. It stalked out with restrained strength. I charged at it, and I knew the response. It charged at me. The lichen leaped at me, but I slid along the ground as the boars charged in together. Their tusk barely broke its skin. From this point, the writing would change in style. The language was the same, but the writing is much shakier. It was apex. A lichen reached the pinnacle. We won't survive this fight. The bear charged in with a roar like a volcano. The blows seemed to shake the very air around us all. The leader started to dart in and out, snapping at hamstrings and other weak points. The boars started to mirror their attacks, aiming for the same spot on the opposite sides, if that makes sense. The fight was the most brutal I have ever seen. The lichen's claws easily ripped through our flesh. The bear was greatly wounded. The hunt leader was missing his throat, still clutching in the lichen's right hand. The surviving boar was being held up in the left hand, and its kicks were getting weaker. I move and strike. My kicks are powerful. I reach out with a kick and slam into its throat. I can feel the wind box collapse beneath my hoof. He throws the boar away. A loud crack answers the question I dreaded. I start to dart aside, but with his last few breaths, he managed to slash my stomach. Then he collapsed. I took the book out from the leader and have documented the final fight. I am dying, but this needs to be recorded. I'm going to ask the human who is staring at us, get him to hand this journal into a sage. We fought well. Hey everyone, I know it's kind of a little bit of a shorter video than the last few, and I do apologize. If you guys have made it here, I really need you guys to kind of do something for me. So, I actually just had a very badass, probably the coolest thing that I've ever done on this, well, for this channel, on this channel, whichever. I did a collab that has been about 2 to 3 months in the making. And we finally just finished it up. It is fucking awesome. Me and Unit and a couple other people, including like Yeah Man, that does the artwork and illustrations for a lot of these YouTubers, we've all been working together on this project. The project finally just got done. It's fully drawn, illustrated, and everything by Yeah Man, as kind of like a comic. In a way. We've been working so hard on this, especially Unit and Yeah Man, and it would mean the world to me, and I know to them, for all of you guys to go check that out. I'm going to put a picture of it on the screen right now, so then you guys know what thumbnail it will be, and I will drop the link down below. It's definitely the coolest project I've ever worked on. And to see this concept of my actual character in a different style, in a different way, in a different alternate world, it was so fucking cool. But please go check that out. I'll put the link in the description. Please go check that out. Let them know that I sent you, and tell me your thoughts. Make sure to check out the links in the description as well. Twitter, Instagram, yada yada, you know the drill. But with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one. And please go check that out. It's by far my favorite thing that I've ever done.